Brandon, take us, if you will, through the thought process of what's going on within the Crane structure and Crane Chicago business. Like obviously, they are reacting and they're trying to lead in this world where people are getting their information online and less from the printed page, which has been the strength of the Crane family, historically. How has that changed, and how quickly is that evolving? And are they fearful of potential pitfalls, or have they made some mistakes thus far?
Oh, they're terrified, as we all should be. We're evolving. We're probably not evolving fast enough. I think what I'm seeing from us, hopefully, the Tribune, at the Sun-Times, and sort of across the media, there's a lot of innovation. A lot of it, from what I can tell, has been concentrated on the editorial side. That seems to be where the change is really happening and trying to catch up with reader habits, and there's movement in that direction. I'm not seeing a ton of innovation and change on the business side. The way you monetize the things that we can do. We're finding ways to reach readers on the web. So far, though, the model is you do that and you sell ads to put next to it. And I'm not sure that model is sustainable for much longer. I mean, clearly, it's an entirely different business just on pricing than you had in print, and so you can't replace what you had in print. So I think, we and every news organization and every media organization is going to be looking for innovation on the advertising side and maybe even beyond advertising. And again, I don't think that will come from within organizations like ours. We're small, and yet we're still too big to really innovate. We've never had to really innovate. You come up with a new publication or a new section every 10 or 15 years, and that's great in the past. Now, you got to go way beyond that, and we're just not set up. The Tribune is not set up to create new ideas and rush them to market and do them right. That's going to have to come from outside.
Is that getting back to the question of the city? Is that a problem when you're coming from a big city? I mean, is that same problem? Is that your staff is what, 7 or 8?
We're 10 people now.
10 people. You're up to 10. You're really expanding.
Blown up, right?
Okay. Yeah. Is there a concern that all of this excitement, a smaller city might be able to get things done quicker?
Well, one thing I'll say real quick, if I might, is that I think Chicago needs to be careful and not just focus on big companies. In the media specifically, there's a lot of talk about big companies, and there's very little talk about small companies. Crains has a small business section now, which is good, and there's some movement there. But Chicago likes to tout its big, huge companies, and that's not where the innovation's coming from. Innovation's coming from the small companies with 5 or less people. Sometimes it's, one person. Threadless is a company here in Chicago, which now everyone's finally talking about. The whole damn world has been talking about Threadless for 5 years. Chicago's finally starting to talk about them. So I think we need to pay attention to the real innovative, interesting companies. And if you don't know Threadless, find out, because they're awesome. But there's a lot of really cool innovation going on at the low level, and I think that we shouldn't be ignoring that.
Jason, your comment on that?
Yeah, I don't think that we're at risk because the city's too big, because we're still made up of so many independent parts. And our company is 130 people, and we're still small. But the key is that we're independent. We're not a network. We're not on one of the coasts where we know how we're going to make money every day because we've got X number of shows and all of our advertisers laid in. We just had our upfront. We have to walk through the door every day and say, how are we going to make money today? And that literally led us a couple years ago, before anyone on either coast cared about new media. It's a curiosity, something to play around with, maybe repackage what's already been on television. We had to take it seriously early on because we just as a matter of survival and as a matter of competition. So I don't really think that the city as a whole is the size of it is going to have anything to do with it, just because it is made up of so many different independent players.
What about, I asked this a little while ago, what about the uniqueness of coming from Chicago? Do we have a better sense in taking the pulse of public taste than anybody else? Because we're not hung up in meetings like they might be in New York or LA, and they're going back and forth. I mean, is there something to just sort of the business culture, the creative culture of Chicago? Do we not ask for permission to do things? Is that part of the success we've had?
I think actually yes and no. You think that would be the case because we don't have this New York thing that drives our identity. We don't have this LA thing that is sort of driven by image and fashion. At the same time, though, we've not been a great venture capital town. This has not been a place where investors come and drop hundreds of millions of dollars on young ideas. We've been corporately a city that has been institutional. That said, I think things are starting to change, and I think that scale and age do not determine your ability to change. Our company, Cramer-Krasselt, was started, believe it or not, in 1898, and we have almost 300 people in this city and 500 throughout the country, and we're probably one of the more innovative communications firms, I think, in the world. And it comes from, are you afraid of being left behind? So do you recognize that fear that you've got something big to lose, and will you put money behind changing it? And because we're independent, we've been scared, and we have been willing to spend money to get out of that fear.
You're looking at it in a commercial sense. Your clients, obviously they see what's happening in the digital world. Everybody wants to be there. They want to be in that space. Do you find that your clients are aware of the pitfalls, or are they grasping at these new straws without having a clear vision of what they want?
Yes, absolutely. They're grasping without any clear vision. I think all of us are grasping and learning every single day what works, what doesn't work. Hey, let's put a movie on the internet. Okay, oh God, that was 10 minutes long and nobody wanted to suck it down. Crap, there goes the budget. Try again next year. Maybe we do it in 3 minutes. Now everyone's happier. Okay, that works. I think there is a constant learning and relearning, and I think what at least people in my business, the agency business, needs to help clients understand that you need a discovery budget in your planning. You need to step on some rakes and bruise your forehead, and you get smarter, and that's how we can do it. The great thing about at least one piece of new media, the internet, is that it's so easy to experiment, so easy to, that's not working, we know it's not working, let's try something, let's do it tomorrow, and make another metric happen.
How do each of you define, I want to get everybody's reaction, how do you define in your businesses, how do you define what's working from what's not working? What's the measure for you, Jason?
Well, for us, we've still got, it's very, very easy to define what's working on some objective standards because in the television business, we're still working with Nielsen and their panels, and they're making extrapolations from small groups on as to what's a hit, what's not a hit. On the phone, for our mobile business, we know exactly that a 12-year-old girl watched this clip for 3 minutes and then stopped watching television. We know that this 55-year-old male watched 5 clips in a row, and these were the ones that we know numbers to the person. We know who they are, we know how long they're watching, and so it's very easy to see, to actually track changes in watching.
And how long
media.
can clips be? I mean, can they be older for someone who's 45 as opposed to a 15-year-old? What's the range? What's the max that somebody's going to sit and watch something on a phone?
I don't think we've gotten. I don't think we can know that answer until we really get to a better delivery of videos over the phone. Because right now, half the time it could be a technical glitch that knocks you out after 2 minutes. So I don't yet know how long people would watch when we get the WiMAX up in the fourth quarter and we really start getting these broadband speed deliveries. But right now, we're really between 1 and 3.5 minutes, and we tend to be in that 1.5 to 2 minute range, and that's where most success seems to come.